remains in the room, but that doesn't happen, I know. But we'll try and keep it as much as possible.
Yes, absolutely. That is a request that he's made earlier as well, because we're going to have a candid discussion. So, a request is that if it remains within the room. But before Gaurav and I roll on, I do want to sort of personally thank the organizers of Natcon. I mean, it's brilliant to have a look at what they have been able to do that. So I do want to really thank 6 people that I've written. There'll be many more. Benita Dalal, who's standing in there. My friend Gaurav Thakkar, who's here. If ever you were to go to his house, make sure that you have his food. It is outstanding in their hospitality. Dhaval Ajmera, I don't know where Dhaval is, but Dhaval, big round of applause to you. Harshul, there he is for the content. Tejas, one of the biggest fans of Dada, and Prateek. So thank you very much, guys. I'm sure there are a lot of other guys who've made this possible, but you guys are absolutely stunning to do this. So, Dada, you've been called with various names. Dada is one, Prince of Calcutta, Bengal Tiger, Warrior Prince, and interestingly, Lord of the Offside in there. I'm going to refer through this discussion Dada. That is easier. You're also referred to as a tiger on the field, and we know as a gentleman of it. Dada played football in his earlier days, got memorized with cricket a little later. Any Bengali, and I see in the front row, many of them sitting, football is their first love.
And I think they have grown up watching football.
Yes, that's
all
right.
of them sitting in the front row and many at the back who've come from Calcutta like me have grown up watching football till cricket took over.
And I remember in 2002, and Gaurav, my co-host, is going to talk a little bit about this, in this dramatic sort of game that saw India chase down 326 to win the NatWest against England. Dada had taken off his shirt. You would remember what a video that was. Exactly. In the Lord's balcony, and little was known that even Paji wanted to take off his shirt at that time. And Dravid was there. I don't know whether that is true or not. There you see.
Full toss. They go for the signal this time. A throw and a miss. They're going to get back for 2. India are home. Lords goes wild. Zahir Khan punches the air.
Yes, look at
Mohammed
it.
Kaif is going down to celebrate with his fans.
I don't know what he was saying there, but I could make it out what he was saying.
And there were 3 of them in the team who were standing next to me and saying कि मैं भी कर लूं तो मैंने कहा कर ले and there were 2 very sober gentlemen, VVS Lakshman and Rahul Dravid, and I could literally see Harbhajan was about to take his shirt off and Rahul was pulling it down. So that was the mix we had in the team. On one side there were those street fighters like probably me, Harbhajan, Yuvraj, Sehwag, bit from the north.
Correct.
And then there was those good boys from the south of VVS Lakshman and
Good boys from the south.
yeah, VVS Lakshman and Rahul Dravid, who would do things in the right way. So I think that was the best part of the team we had. We had players from all over. Sachin would stay at the back and he would say, "Tu bhi kar le, tu bhi kar le." So that was the best, and there were great moments though.
So Dada, this moment, is kind of defined, like similar to before what Amitabh Bachchan became Amitabh Bachchan. Like he became the angry young man with the movie Janjeer. And this moment, I think, is the same moment which decided when the Indian cricket team or the Indian cricket got an aggression and an aggressive side, an aggression streak. And that's how, it got defined later on.
I think it also added up because we kept winning a lot during that period, and I think this was the beginning. In 2001, when I first became captain, we went to the Champions Trophy, which was the 50-over World Cup, then the Mini World Cup. Now, in those days, there was no T20 World Cup, so we had the 50 overs Mini World Cup and then the main World Cup. So we reached the finals in 2001, and then we came to England. And I think it was a very young team with who wanted to do things differently. And for us, most important thing was to go away and win. We were a great side at home on turning pitches. We had the best spinners in the world, the likes of Venkatraghavan, Bishan Singh Bedi, Chandrasekhar before I played. And when I played, I had two world-class spinners, the best probably at that time in Kumble and Harbhajan Singh.
Yes.
So sometimes it was very easy as a captain, A lot of people ask me that, what would you do as a captain? I said, when I was in India, I would just stand at point, give the ball to Harbhajan and Kumble, and by the end of day 4, we would win a test match. But when we went away, that was the real challenge. And I think that change in mindset we needed as a unit. And I think winning in England at this series, we went on to win the test. Then in Australia in 2002, I was having a chat with Anuj at the backstage, and you were there as well. And then Pakistan for the first time in 50 years. So it was a team which had just started to change the mindset. So along with the aggression, along with me taking the shirt off, I think the rest of them did very well as well by winning cricket matches.
So here we are privileged today, from writing book to owning restaurant, from being a commentator to, holding reality show, from playing cricket to becoming the BCCI President Arjuna Awardee, Padma Shri in 2004. And clearly, I can tell you is that from my perspective, if you examine all the circumstances in which the captains have played in crisis, I would say he was the best ever captain for the Indian cricket, guys. Absolutely. So I have a few questions, some of them a little bit more candid, but let me start with the easier ones first. Who was the most challenging team that you played during your tenure on Indian grounds?
I think Australia by far on any grounds, Indian ground and away. I remember the tour of 2001 when Steve Waugh came to India with his side. He had won everywhere. He had won in England, South Africa, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and India was the only place he hadn't won. So he had such a great captain he was and such a great leader. And he had such wonderful players in that team. I remember as he landed in India in I think, February 2001, there was the headlines on the Times of India newspaper then saying that it's Steve's final frontier.
Oh.
Yeah. So I woke up and saw the newspaper. I said, is this newspaper from India or is it from Australia? So Steve's final frontier. And I remember us losing the first test in Bombay in 4 days. And 3 days, to be honest, 3.5 days, the test match was over. And we were all set to lose the series. And then to turn it around from there and win 2-1 with those famous knocks from Lakshman and Dravid in Calcutta and then in winning in Chennai. I think they were probably the best side I have seen. I've been watching cricket since 1983, probably. I was 10-year-old then. That's when India won the World Cup and actually got me interested in the sport. And till now, this is 40 years almost. I think I haven't seen the West Indies before, the likes of Joel Garner, Andy Roberts, Michael Holding, they were just before me. But I think this Australian team under Waugh, Gilchrist, Ponting, Langer, Hayden, McGrath, Vaughan, were probably the best team in the last 40 years. And I still remember, that Calcutta test. It was a very young Harbhajan Singh, 20-year-old. And we had just got Australia in a bit of a difficult situation. They were 180 for 5. And I gave the ball to Harbhajan and asked him to bowl from the high court end. He said, "Yeah, sir," he used to call me sir then because he had just walked into the team. "Sir, sabko to out kar diya. Wo Adam Gilchrist aa raha hai batting karne." So that's how good they were. You get the top order out and then you have Adam Gilchrist coming at number 7 to change the game around. And then you had that bowling of McGrath, Vaughan, Gillespie and Brett Lee. So they were probably the best side in the last 40 years.
They're talking about Steve Waugh and Australia, Dada. There is an incident where, during the toss, Steve Waugh was waiting for the toss and Dada walks later in. So continuing the question when you kind of changed the definition of Indian cricket and Indian cricket team. So was there any thought, was there any, message which you were thinking while if you were delayed, or it was just a natural thing that you were delayed? Or
no, I'm telling you honestly, the first test in Mumbai, I was very nervous because I had just taken on the captaincy. and it was a very big series for us. We won Zimbabwe before, but Zimbabwe was Zimbabwe, with due respect. I was captain to the Champions Trophy in Nairobi, where we lost to New Zealand in the finals. So it was my first big series as captain against the mighty Australians, and I was very nervous, and I'll be absolutely honest about it. So in the first test in Bombay, I was very undecided whether to play an extra spinner or an extra fast bowler. So toss was at 9 o'clock, and I took the team from the team manager and I said, "Ab 10 लिख दीजिए, 11वां में जाते जाते भर लूँगा."
Oh my God.
Because I wasn't sure because I had to hand over the team at toss, and I wasn't sure before I even was getting out of the dressing room one more extra spinner or one more extra fast bowler. So I just took the pen and paper, and then I realized I forgot my blazer, the Indian blazer, and Steve was already there waiting. So I had to go in and get my blazer, and I got late. So he did not tell me anything, and obviously he wasn't very happy about it. We won the toss and we batted. I picked the team and handed it over. Coincidentally, the same thing happened in Calcutta in the second test. So he got a bit annoyed, and he said, "You got to be at the toss on time, mate. The TV is waiting, I am waiting, and you're strolling onto the cricket field." So I realized that he was very upset. I couldn't tell him anything because he hammered us in the first test match in Bombay. Then we won the second test in Calcutta, and then he wrote a column in the newspaper that the Indian captain had to learn how to be disciplined and be at the toss at the right time. So he could make out as a unit.
Wow.
He wasn't too happy about it. So in Chennai, I went late. And he walked into the ground and he did not go to the pitch. He stood halfway between the pitch and the boundary rope. So I walked in about a minute late at 9 o'clock. So as I joined him, and he looked at me like this and said, "You're 1 minute late." I said, "No, Steve, your watch is 1 minute fast. It's still 9 o'clock. And then it went on and on. We won the test in Chennai, and he got a bit annoyed. Then we went back to Australia in 2003, the big test series as captain, where I got 100 in Brisbane. It was Steve's last series. And we finished the match referees conference before the start of the test series. So as we walked out of the match referees room before the first test, he took me aside and said, "It's my last series. Let's be on time at the toss." So I said, "You don't abuse me in the paper. You don't talk bad things about my team in the paper. I'll be there 5 to 9 and not 9. But he was such a champion player. And off the field, so much respect I had for him. And to be honest, on the field as well. He is one who made that team invincible. Australia were 30 for 3 and Steve were coming out to bat at number 5. He would stand up more number of times than not. And for such a player, such a captain, you generate so much respect and you develop so much respect. And then I've met him many a number of times after that. And I sincerely tell you that whatever I did on that field, some was under pressure, being under pressure. Some I realized that he was under pressure. But the respect for that player was unbelievable.
Of course.
Saurabh, I've got 3 statements which I want to connect with our business. You've made 3 statements. I'm going to read the first one and ask your views, and then the second and the third. So you go on and say, this is very important for all of us sitting in this room. What Dada says, in your life, you may often come across people who will harm you and hinder your growth. I experienced this especially when I was a young player struggling to make it big. A lot of us, and I was no exception to this, at one point of time, think of taking revenge to settle the score. I would advise you not to resort to revenge. You will only be wasting energy and, more importantly, precious time. I want you to elaborate this. I mean, this is like, wow, what a learning.
But this I realized after I gave up cricket. All the while when I played cricket and I was captain, I was fighting. Fighting with the opposition captain, fighting with the opposition player. You saw that the shirt in the NatWest. 6 months ago, England were in India. And I don't know whether you have...
Andrew Flintoff did that, yeah.
You don't have, I don't know whether you have that footage here or not. We were 3-1 up in the series. It was a six-match series, and England came back and made it 3-all. And I still remember that last wicket at the Wankhede, where we needed 5 runs to win, and Freddie got Srinath out once again, trying to flick a delivery outside off stump as he's done all his life. So he got him out and he took his shirt off and went round the entire Wankhede.
I remember, yes.
So I did that in Lords. So a journalist asked me after the game that, why did you do that? I said, no, England drew in Wankhede and took the shirt off. We won in Lords and it was one step better. So it's very abrasive when you play because you're tensed, you're nervous, you're so much under pressure because your reputation is at stake, your spot in the team is at stake. But once you finish all that and then you sit back and then you make those statements. So it's a bit different. So life is a bit different when you're under pressure, and life is a bit different when everything goes well for you. But you know, you realize in life, like I spoke about Steve, you know, you competed hard on the field, and I realized what sledging was when you played Australia. But as I always said, that you don't win cricket matches by sledging. You had to be as good as they were to win cricket matches along with that. But then you realize that once you finish and you're done, the respect for that opposition always remains. And I think, and I'm sure it's the same with your profession. You compete in the market, you compete in trying to get the best deals for you, trying to make sure that your brand does well, your company does well. But deep inside, you have that respect for the opposition who's doing probably as well.
Very, very well said, Dada. My second statement is in relation to what you have just now said, which is about pressure. And you know, certainly the community here is all the time under pressure from various stakeholders. You have said that in my career, there were moments when the pressure seemed unbearable. And I think in all our lives, there are those moments when it is unbearable. In 2001, when I became a captain of a demoralized, broken team, that pressure hit the roof. Yet, I never ran away from it. Pressure will be with you as long as you continue to set targets and break barriers. The rule of professional jungle is that to win battles, you have to embrace pressure and not get frightened. My question is, Dada, you know, when we are watching the match, we're like biting our nails, and you're playing there. You know, that last one ball, you need that 4 runs, and, you know, we're like, gosh, you know, there will be very difficult to manage that. How do you perform under pressure?
You know, that's probably the most valid and important word in every professional life. We are all under pressure in different stages of our career. You know, when I first played my test cricket in England in '96, I saw that footage on the big screen here. I was under pressure to make a name for myself.
Yes.
Then I played for a little while. Then I was under pressure to, you know, to take my team forward when I became captain. And then when I played over a period of 10 years, I was under the pressure of expectations. कि यार गांगुली खेलेगा, तेंदुलकर खेलेगा, द्रविड़ खेलेगा, उनको तो बनाना ही है. नहीं बनाएगा तो क्या कर लिया? बनाया तो ठीक है यार, इतने साल खेल लिए, अब नहीं बनाएगा तो कब बनाएगा? लेकिन नहीं बनाया तो अभी भी नहीं बनाता. So you had to go through that pressure. And I think, you know, when I finished playing, I'll just go back and forth a little bit. When I finished playing, retired in the year 2013 from all forms of cricket, you know, 3-4 months down the line, I used to do a whole lot of things, probably make more money I did when I was playing. One journalist took an interview of mine and asked me a question, that what you miss the most, and you've played almost 500 games for India, probably you, Dravid and Tendulkar are in the history of Indian cricket played the most number of games, but what do you still miss? And I honestly told him, you know, when I used to wake up at 7:30 in the morning and had to leave the ground for a test match or a one-day match, I miss that something which goes inside your body. Ki by 4:30 in the evening, you're either a success or a failure.
Wow.
By 4:30 in the
evening.
And it was real time. I did not have chance of a retake. If I nicked a delivery outside, oh, why me? Anybody, Kohli, Rohit Sharma. If I nicked a delivery outside of a Glenn McGrath, I could not come back and bat again. But in a life after that, whether I did various things which you just read out, I always had the chance to correct it. If I made a mistake at 10 o'clock, I had the chance at 10:30 to collect it. But if I nicked a delivery early morning at 10 o'clock, I could not bat at 10:30. So I said, I missed that challenge. I missed that day in, day out training at the nets. A fast bowler runs at you. You stand in between Shoaib Akhtar and Moin Khan, and he's bowling at 160 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
And you not just have to play, you have to score, and you have to win the game for India. So it's just the next level. And it's a very small mindset. You take guard and you stand in between a McGrath or a Lee or a Shoaib who's bowling at that pace. Either your mind switches to a thought, yaar lag gaya to kya hoga? Or you switch your mind, and it's that fraction of a second, कि कुछ नहीं होगा. जितना तेज डालेगा, उतना तेज मैं मारूंगा. So that challenge would never.
Wow, man. Wow, what a learning.
That challenge was always missing. And it was a one-ball game.
It's a one-ball game.
You are a fraction of a second late to a Brett Lee delivery or a Shoaib Akhtar delivery. You're gone.
Done.
You're gone. Either you get hit, you break bones, or you get out, or people say you can't play fast bowling. So it was that challenge which you missed once you finished. And I realized, and I know there are a lot of senior people here, and a lot of young people who are starting their careers as well. Pressure is something you have to learn to deal with. And you'll realize that the more you put yourself under pressure, over a period of 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, or a year, you will not feel it anymore. But if you see pressure and turn your face away, it does not go away from you. I'll tell you a small incident when I started opening in one-day cricket. I was a middle order batsman. Till I played for India, I never opened in my life. So I remember Sachin coming to me and saying in after one of the matches against South Africa, he said, "Yaar, hamare opening batsmen chal nahi rahe. You bat at number 3 in test matches, why don't you open?" I was a young player, 1.5 years into my international career. I didn't have the guts to tell him anything. I said, "Yeah, you're captain, whatever you decide." I opened and never looked back from there. So I believe, and I say this to all of you, that pressure actually makes you better.
Nice.
Sometimes
Nice.
Sometimes, because all of us want to enjoy our comfort zone. We practice, we train, we do our studies, we are very good in certain departments of our life. But when your boss or when your captain just pulls you out of the comfort zone and says ki, ye aapko karna hai, ye nahi, for the fraction of a moment or for a few days or a few months, you feel, yaar, why me? But you actually realize the best out of you. I can guarantee you, Sachin would not have been the player he was if he hadn't opened in one-day cricket. I would not have been the player I was if I hadn't opened in one-day cricket. And for me, the biggest example was Virender Sehwag. He came into an Indian team where Dravid was 3, Tendulkar was 4, Ganguly was 5, and Lakshman was 6. He wouldn't get to play a game. And he would sit on the benches, and being so exceptionally talented, I went up to him and one day and said, "Ki Viru, tu kab tak bahar baitha rahega yaar? You're such a fantastic player and you can't get a game. Why don't you open?" He said, "नहीं, मैं open नहीं किया हूँ. मेरा career आप खराब कर दोगे." मैंने कहा, "कुछ नहीं होगा. तू कोशिश कर. अगर नहीं हुआ तो फिर नीचे आके खेल लेना." And he became one of the greatest opening batsmen India has produced after.
Wow.
The only thing he told me that during his tenure of batting, he said, "मेरे बाल सारे चले गए." नया बॉल सोच के मेरे बाल. मैंने कहा, "तू ओपन नहीं करता तो तू पाकिस्तान के सामने मुल्तान में वो 300 बनाया." And he was hitting Shoaib Akhtar over point, over covers, at will. So pressure is something which you must face. In your business, कभी flats नहीं बिकते, कभी market खराब है. COVID के time, I used to see those huge buildings not being sold. That's what pressure is all about. You need to bite the bullet and face it rather than thinking, "यार ये काम नहीं करना, दूसरा कुछ कर लेंगे." I think pressure is something which will get into your system once you keep facing it every morning. And I've finished playing almost 8-9 years now. I've been in many important positions, just finished my tenure as the president of the board. But those moments where the entire world is looking at you, and if you don't do well, they feel that you're not good enough and you need to be out of the team. And you know how emotions work in India. They lost a World Cup semi-final yesterday, and you see the morning newspaper reports for the same people who were 6 months ago probably your heroes,
Heroes.
probably could do anything wrong. So that's what you face in your life as a profession, as a professional. So I think for to survive in every world, because if you don't handle pressure, somebody else will. You as a chairman of Rock, you must be having the enormous amount of pressure to get that organization going. अगर आप सुबह उठ के बोलेंगे कि यार ये बहुत हो गया, मुझे नहीं करना, कोई और कर लेगा. So it's about you waking up and switching your mind on and saying that this is what is all about. And the most important thing, and I've seen great players talk about it, great champions talk about it, that there is nothing called pressure or negativity. It's about opportunity. It's the way you think about it. When you get to bat at number 3 for India, a lot of people when I came back from the tour of England asked me, यार आपको तो 3 नंबर खिला दिए थे, बॉल वहाँ स्विंग होगा, आप आउट हो जाएंगे, आपकी करियर खत्म हो जाएगी, दूसरा कोई आ जाएगा. मैंने कहा यार, for me it was an opportunity. So either you think that you're pushed in the deep end to struggle, or you look at it that it's my opportunity to succeed. Yeah. And I think the best in the business, whatever you put them through, whatever tough situations you put them through, they look at it as more of an opportunity than an obstacle.
What a learning for us, guys. What a beautiful learning for us. And I'll cover up with one other statement, Gaurav, and then you can take it up. What Dada said after that, and it's beautiful, huh? He's enumerated it. He said is, pressure is like a wild horse. Pressure is like a wild horse, difficult to tame, but once you manage to do it, the skill set remains with you. Beautifully said that.
Absolutely. And once you go through that barrier and you know what it is, so when it comes next time to you, you tell yourself, yeah, I've done this. मैं फिर कर लूँगा. When you bat at number 3 in a test match against a Glenn McGrath and a Brett Lee, and you go through that tough bit of first 2 hours and you finish at the end of the day with a test match 100, that will remain with you for the next 15 years. Every time you don't do well, and every time you pushed again into that situation, you'll think, yaar, maine to kiya tha. Main phir kar lunga. I think it builds an enormous confidence within you. Because I believe as much as your skill is important, as much as your knowledge is important, your control of your mind is important. Especially in sports. Because, at the end of the day, you compete with people who are in the same pedestrian. The one which separates the greats from the normal ones is who react to pressure properly. And I think that's what you need to do. The more you keep doing it, it becomes like a muscle memory to you. And you don't feel it after a while. You feel the nervousness. Nervousness is good. And when I speak about nervousness here, the most nervous times was when I sat with my pads on. India 2 down, 100, and I'm supposed to bat at number 5 and Dravid and Tendulkar bats for the rest of the day. I sit with my pads on, drinking tea and coffee and being under pressure. But the moment I walk in, and I take guard and I play the first ball, that disappears. That disappears. So I think it's something which you just embrace it. Everything in life is an opportunity. I spent a lot of time with, and I just say this, and because I felt those words were very, very powerful and had a lot of meaning. I spent a lot of time with Shah Rukh Khan in KKR. So one afternoon it was raining. We were playing RCB and it was raining very heavily in Calcutta. So we were just sitting and chatting. So he said something which I remembered all my life. He said, when I came first into the movie world, I used to do films which everyone rejected. जब सबके पास घूम के मना कर देते थे, जो मैं ही पढ़ा था, और जब मेरे पास आते थे, मैं करता था उसको. करते एक नाम बना मेरा. And I think those words have such great meaning that no work is small. You just have to do it to get the next bit.
Very, very nice. Very important for all of us here who are sitting to be able to understand that this pressure is actually good. It will make you more smarter. And what Dada said is that once you've lived through that pressure, next time you don't feel it. You know that I have done this, I can't do it again. But if you've not encountered it, then it is going to be a big, big challenge.
A lot of people ask me during my career, because I dealt with some great players. I was fortunate enough to captain India, a team which had Sachin, Rahul, Anil, VVS, Harbhajan, Sehwag, later Dhoni came in. who in their own rights could have captained India. And obviously, I had the final authority to pick the team, pick the final 11. And I would times leave great players out. So many times I've left Anil Kumble out, and he wouldn't feel happy about it. And I would know it. You know, the hardest thing was to, at 7 o'clock in the evening, the day before the game, I would go up to him and say, Anil, you'll be rested this game. And I could still visualize that look on his face, those eyes telling me, I'm Anil Kumble and I don't get a game. But you rather play with those such players who, when you drop, and who will come and tell you, why am I not playing? Rather than people who you drop, they say, okay, no problem, I'll be ready for the next game.
But that's so difficult. You know, these are deep friends of yours.
Yeah, but they understand. Only 11 can play. I have a decision to make. They understand the game as well because of the conditions. You know, the easiest way of picking teams is when you play in India. Those spinner khila lo, baaki. But जब भी बाहर गए, Australia गए, South Africa गए, जहाँ पे green pitches, fast bowlers come into the game, that's when the struggle starts of picking 2 of your best players. But I would rather have both of them in my squad rather than one. And I know at times when selectors have said कि एक spinner लेके चलो, मैंने कहा नहीं दोनों को ही चाहिए, because I have the option to play both. And I don't mind it, you know, because at the end of the day, when I sit in the evening and I pick that 11, I do what my heart tells me. That in these conditions, X is better than Y, or Y is better than X, and I do that, take that decision with the best interest of the team. So once that happens, I don't think it's a problem, because players also understand. At the end of the day, they get upset that why am I not playing? But then when they see the conditions, when they see how it is going, they understand why that decision was taken.
Well, Dada, you've said a couple of things. One of them is looking to pressure as opportunity, but that is easily said than done. So
it's about training your mind.
Yeah.
It's about waking up in the morning, and when you turn up in office and you hold such an important position, you turn up in office and you sit on your table, and when you think that this is what I have to do, I have to sell 350 flats in that building, and the market is not good. You know, that's what you're here for. If everything is easily saleable, they won't have you.
Yeah.
They'll just keep somebody else and just sell it.
That's exactly what my question was, that when you were hit in the rib cage and then again facing the fast bowling, how did you prepare or prep up your mind, you know? How did you overcome that fear? That was fear which was put in by the public. There must be something within you as to how to face the fast again. You've got hit.
Yeah, I got hit by young Shoaib in 1997, and I didn't see that ball. You know, it was in Chandigarh. It was a flat white surface, and it was a white ball. So I lost it in the middle, and it hit my ribs. For the first 1.5 minutes, I thought I wouldn't live anymore.
Oh,
Luckily,
my God.
the heart was this side and not this side. So I thought I wouldn't live anymore. But then they took me to the hospital for an X-ray. But then as I was lying down at the hospital for an X-ray and I was watching India bat, मैंने कहा यार तू यहाँ से निकल, you have to get back into the ground, नहीं तो टीम वाले सोचेंगे यार ये डरता है fast bowling से, इसलिए hospital चला गया. So I came back and batted that game. I got 60 odd.
Oh my God! Wow.
At Mohali.
It's all about preparing your mind. And
so करना ही पड़ेगा यार, क्योंकि when you work in a team, people understand everything. तो आपका सर में लगेगा, आपका body में लगेगा. You cannot show it. You cannot show it, and that's what international cricket is all about. You know, even your the driver who would come and pick you up from the airport after you finish the series and say कि दादा लगा तो लगा, आप भाग गए, वो भी बोलेगा. So you have to face that also. You know, when we played India Pakistan at home, we used to live in hotels, and in India you hardly could go out. So I was very wary of the room service guy and the housekeeping guy. So जब भी खाने के लिए order करता था, moment the room service guy used to come in, I used to open the door and go into the washroom. तो खाना छोड़ के चले जाता था. तो एक दो बार ऐसा हुआ तो मेरे को पूछा अब ऐसे क्यों करते हो? मैंने कहा तू जैसे ही मिलेगा बोलेगा पाकिस्तान को हराना है, आपको 100 बनाना है. वो तो मुझे पता ही है. तू बोलता है, हाउसकीपिंग वाला बोलता है, ग्राउंड्समैन बोलता है, मेरा ड्राइवर बोलता है, मेरा फादर भी रात को बोलता है. तो यार इतना प्रेशर डालोगे तो कहाँ से खेलूंगा मैं? तू खाना छोड़ के चले जा, जो करना है मैं कल कर लूंगा.
Dada, you know, related to this is, you know, when we lose, you know, our shoulders droop. very difficult to pick yourself up and says, I'm going to go for the next game. How as cricketers, you lose, and you rightly said is, in the papers it's plastered, the next morning, all negativity. How do you pick yourself up when the chips are down?
Well, you have to, isn't it? That's what you train for. You won't win all the time, you won't lose all the time. So when you lose, you have to find a way to get back and win, and that's why you train. All of you must have seen the great Sachin play. He must have played how many? 700 games for India, or probably more. I have actually lost count. He's got 100 international hundreds. That means the remaining 500 games, he's not performed up to his expectations. But the day he got in, the day he got set, he made it a big one, so that you remember that forever. And I think that's it. That's what it's about, winning and losing. Because you will not win all the time, you will not lose all the time. But it's like a boxer in the ring. It's not the number of times you get hit, but it's the number of times you get up after being hit.
Yeah.
And I think that's what sport is all about. The best thing this game has done to me, other than giving me the name and the respect and the recognition for a long period of time, it has taught me about life also. Because sport is real time. You start from scratch, you're under pressure, you're expected to do well, you do well, you get through another level of pressure, then you become a leader. The pressure goes to another level because people expect you to take that team to win. And then when you get past an age, it's about proving that it's still not over. So you go through that system all throughout your career. So when you finish it, when you go through that circle of up, down, you actually come out as a better human being. So when you're put in tough situations in life, crises in life, actually you get that strength from within ki nahi samal lenge.
Nice.
Because you may get a test match 100, you may get a one-day 100, but the next innings you're starting from 0. That has no meaning except giving you confidence and only adding to your records as a player. So it's a great learning experience in life, because all what you do is real. You work hard, you train, you stay fit, and then you go and perform. So it actually transforms your career, character, over a long period of time, and sportsmen finish early. At least in cricket, we are fortunate enough that we go on to play till we are 40. In tennis, in football, the greatest finish at 31, 32, and for a lot of us, it's just the start of our lives. At the age of 31, 32, you have a whole life to lead, and then you go on to different things in life. And the first thing when you're given a challenge to do, कि Saurav Ganguly, Sachin, या Dravid, आपको ये करना है, the first thought which comes to your mind is, नहीं कर सकते हैं. That is most important. उसके बाद you learn, you train, you do the day in, day out effort, and then you master that.
First is in the mind.
First is, नहीं कर लेंगे. ऐसा नहीं सोचते कि हमसे नहीं होगा. Because that circle of those 15-20 years has taught you to do that, because there was no guarantees, there was no certainties, and you had to get up every morning and deliver. And I think that's what sport teaches you, that nothing is permanent. You have to make sure that you turn up and perform all the time.
You have to get up every morning and deliver. I think that is what the mantra is.
So even after delivering a project, we might have been sold out, but get up again,
and then yes,
construct again and deliver again. That is what we have.
As I go through this, I get a tweet mentioned by CREDAI National. Yes, it's none other than Ganguly at CREDAI Natcon, or Dada as we like to call him. But please, apne andar hi rakhna.
Dada, talking about leadership, I had one question. There is a small video again from the same NatWest series match where you removed the T-shirt. When can we have that, AV? Yes.
I will actually give you the mantra of my leadership. Let this finish.
Yeah. Great.
Carved away again. That's 6 over cover. Don't see that very often. That's hit high and handsome over extra cover for 4. Got plenty of bat on that. That's racing away up the hill for 4, and that's Ganguly's 50. It's come in just 35 balls. Brilliant. Well, Sehwag's turn now. Maybe he's the one to get after Irani. It's in the air, third man is up and it's full. Deliberately played, just guided away. No, it's 4 more. 12 off his first 3 balls. Whipped away. Through square leg, that's going to be 4. That's quite...
This is the over.
Yeah.
This is the over, yes.
So Dada, here in this AV, what you saw is you hit the 50, you raise your bat. But the question is not about the 50. The question is, you had Sehwag against you, playing with you, and there is a bowler, and probably you were telling him to go slow on him and let's bat it out and not be very aggressive. And that's when Sehwag decides to hit 3 4s
You know,
in a row.
this over was a big learning experience for me in my early days as captain. It was 2002, I had just become captain for about 15 months. And we were playing England in the NatWest final. England got 325 and we were off to a great start. For the first time, I think I scored quicker than Sehwag did in that innings, and we were about 60 for no loss in 7 or 8 overs. That's when Ronnie Irani came on to bowl. And he was the weaker of all the English bowlers. So I went up to Viru and said, Ki Viru, देख start अच्छा मिल गया है, ये match हम जीत जाएंगे. And before we walked out of the Lord's dressing room and walked down that long room, he was whistling away. So I was pretty upset कि यार और एक final, फिर 300 रन बना दिए, फिर बन पाएगा कि नहीं, जीत पाएंगे कि नहीं. But here was young Sehwag whistling away at the back. तो मैंने कहा यार तू पागल हो गया है, 325 चेस करना और तू सिटी मारे. कहता नहीं आज जीतेंगे. मैंने कहा तो ऐसे ही बोल देता यार जीतेंगे, कहाँ से जीतेंगे, चल जाके 100 बना फिर जीतेंगे. So as we walked, so at the start of the over, I went to him and said, Ki, we are off to a great start. If we bat 15 overs, both of us, we will win this game. We will take to 120, 130, and then we have a long batting, jeet jayenge. It's a fantastic wicket to bat on. He said, yeah, no problem. So the first ball of Ronnie Irani over, as you saw, he hit him over mid-on. One bounce into the fence, and I walked up to him and tapped the pitch and said, Firu, देख अच्छा start मिल गया इस over में, single खेलते रहे, आराम से 8-9 आ जाए, तो over में 8-9 रन चाहिए, मिल जाएंगे, हमें फिर अगला over देखेंगे. Full planning I was doing, and here was another fellow thinking something else. फिर उसने एक sweep मार दिया ऐसा बैठ के, बीच में से एकदम, सीधा पैड में लगता तो he would have got out. So I went up to him and said, वीरू ये एकदम बीच का बॉल था यार, तो ऐसे मत कर, 8 रन आ गए, सिंगल खेलना. कहते हाँ दादा चिंता ना करो, सिंगल ही खेलेंगे. मैं फिर दूसरे एंड पे चला गया, फिर तीसरा चौका देखो, वो फिर स्वीप मारने जा रहा था, वो ऑफ स्टंप के बाहर था, वो बैट ऐसा खोल दिया, हवे में पॉइंट के पास से चला गया चौका. तो फिर आई डिड नॉट गो टू हिम. सो आई डिड नॉट गो टू हिम. ओवर खत्म हो गया, तो ओवर के बाद मैंने उसको बोला, तू आउट हो गया ना, तो सीधा लॉर्ड से तुझे दिल्ली भेज दूंगा, तू होटल नहीं जाएगा. We won the game, he played an outstanding innings. Then as I went back into the hotel and I sat on my own, I had a young daughter, then Sana was just born. As I was sitting in my room and thinking that, I tried to stop that fellow from doing what he wanted to do. Yeah. And he turned the game around for me. Now, why will I do that? Just because I'm captain and just because I have a certain pattern of winning cricket matches, his pattern is different. Right. And he's actually winning you matches that way. So it
Wow.
Yeah. So it completely transformed me as a captain, and I never stopped him after that. Because I realized that leadership, captaincy, being the head of an organization, it's always not my way or highway. That the entire system, the entire batting unit, the entire staff working under me has to do what I want. And it completely transformed me as a leader, my leadership skills. I started to relax a bit more because I realized that let them play the way they are successful, not the way I want them to be successful. Whether it's Rahul leaving a delivery outside the off stump for the first morning of a test and Virendra Sehwag hitting that same ball for 4. So the hardest bit for me, I used to bat at number 5 in test matches. And the hardest bit was the days Virendra Sehwag would get out. He was very close to me. He would come and sit next to me, and Dravid would bat at number 3. So a James Anderson or a Glenn McGrath with the new ball bowling to Dravid outside the off stump, he would be leaving whole day. And here was one fellow sitting next to me and would say, "Chauka." तू कर क्या रहा है यार? वो खेल रहा है तू इधर चौका चौका. So I used to tell him, "You please go in, because I have to pad up next, bat next." And Dravid is leaving deliveries outside the off stump, and here you are sitting next to me saying chauka, because he would play like that. So if Dravid would have left deliveries outside the off stump to make that old ball new, he will come and tell me, "I'll hit that same ball to make it old." So he had a different way,
Wow.
different way of winning, of scoring runs. You know, I remember, and I swear it's the truth. In Multan, he got a 100 against Pakistan. So he comes to me at lunch, and he was batting on 85. He said, "आज मैंने एक तैयारी की है." मैंने कहा, "क्या वीरू?" मैं अगर 95 तक पहुंच गया तो मैं छक्का मारूंगा, अगर मैं 195 तक पहुंच गया तो मैं छक्का मारूंगा, मैं अगर 295 तक पहुंच गया तो मैं छक्का मारूंगा. मैंने कहा, "जब ही मार ले, 295 पे मत मारना, क्योंकि रोज दिन 295
नहीं आता.
अगर 295 पे पहुंच गया तो सिंगल खेल लेना." And he exactly did that. And when he was batting 95, he hit Saklin for 6. When he was batting 195, he hit Saklin for 6. And 295, Pakistan had long on, long off, deep mid wicket, deep square leg, and he. So when you play with such players and then you realize that this is what it is, you have to lead in that particular manner. And I think it's a great learning experience for all of us in this room, and I've been in leadership positions. I've been the president of the board working with a lot of people under me. You know, I realize that sometimes this is the best way to, handle people, because you may be in a very leadership position, but there are people under you who are as talented or probably more talented than you are. And you sometimes hold them and restrict them by trying to make them think the way you want them to think.
Exactly.
And I think from that day, I never stopped Sehwag from doing differently. I only asked him to keep his mouth shut and not whistle when he bats, because the other person is not concentrating. And or go to Rahul Dravid and say, "You don't leave deliveries outside." all what I did is to make sure that they maximized their skills, because at the end of the day, that would impact the team. Skills in the way they wanted to deliver. And I think that's very, very important. It might sound different, it might sound funny, you might feel angry. And I'll tell you another incident. You know, we were playing with Australia, and that time Australia, Matthew Hayden used to score a lot of runs against India. I remember the first test in Brisbane, me and Zahir Khan sat that evening one-on-one to find a way to get Hayden out. So we decided that, Zahir, we will not come and float early on with the new ball. We'll bowl short to Hayden. So you have a deep square leg, deep fine leg, mid-wicket, mid-on, and you just come and bowl short with the new ball. We'll see what happens. So we spent half an hour, 40 minutes that whole evening trying to decide how to get Hayden out. It finished. Next day morning, I won the toss and we were bowling, and invariably the new ball was with Zahir Khan. Hayden sweater from the bowler and giving it to the umpire. So I took it and gave it to Zach and went and stood at mid-on. So I see Zach run up and bowl the first ball, pitched up, swings out. So I take that ball and give it back to him. The second ball, again he runs up, bowls up and swings it out. So I said, "Zach, कल तो कुछ और decide किए थे. कल तो पूरी शाम बैठ के मैंने कहा तू हिट शॉट डाल ले, बॉडी वार्म अप हुआ कि नहीं, कि तू ऐसी वार्म नहीं डालता हूँ. 6 ओवर 6 बॉल हो गए, उसने एक छोटा बॉल नहीं डाला. तो I went up to him and said, "Zach, I'm looking like an idiot to my teammates, to people who are watching on TV, because I have a fine leg, deep square leg, deep mid wicket, mid-on, and I've decided that we'll bowl short and you keep pitching it up." So he said, "Hayden भी तो वही देख रहा है."
Oh.
मैंने कहा, "यार."
Oh.
So all this thing of, the team did what Ganguly asked, and Ganguly was in complete control of all the decisions that was going on in the field, is absolute rubbish. Number of times I've taken the sweater within myself, was abusing the bowler or the batter, left, right, and center for not following. But at the end of the day, they got the results for me. So sometimes, in life, in leadership roles, I've realized It's also important listening to the other person.
And it should not be my way or the highway.
Exactly. What is he saying? What does he think? And I would listen. As I went longer in my captaincy tenure, I would listen. I would listen to people and say, if Tendulkar would come and tell me, aaj fielding kar le. Maybe he was not in a great frame of mind and he wanted to get into the test match. But I listened. Because I cannot win a test match alone. You cannot make Anurag successful alone. You need a team. So sometimes you have to listen to the team and say कि यार कर लेते हैं वो क्या बोलते हैं. And I promise you the results have gone my way many a number of times than not.
My God, what a great learning, guys. A big round of applause on this. What a great learning.
We have to trust in our partners also, not just think that it is always going to be the way we want it. Saurabh?
Just,
Yeah.
sorry, I was just going to continue on that one. Saurav, you said is that my way or the highway, and I fully agree with that. That is more about empowering your teams. But you've also been very good in identifying the right talent. I mean, if you look at it within your tenure, you've been able to bring in so many new players who've scored winning scores in those matches. How do you identify the right talent?
You know, we are fortunate that we live in a country where there is talent in every department of life. Whether it's sports, whether it's business, whether it's in entrepreneurship. You see young entrepreneurs with their education, their degrees, their tenacity to work hard. We are blessed with that. I think what is important, especially in our life, was the eye for talent. You know, you can see it on TV and realize कि ये बंदा थोड़ा सा special है. इसमें थोड़ा सा ना अलग चीज़ है दूसरों से. And I realized that with Sehwag, I realized that with Zahir, and I had a mindset. I'll pick players who will win matches for me. मुझे हारना problem नहीं है. I don't mind losing, but I have to win. I don't want players जो यार match को draw कर देगा. I didn't need that. I had to either win or lose. That's the way you progress as a player. And when I identified someone, I made sure that as a leader, I took the pressure off him. And I used to hate picking X and Y, just giving him 2 games. Oh, it's not enough. So if I would have had faith in X, I would pick him after a period of time. But once I pick him,
You'll go the full way.
I'll go the full throttle with him. Because I believe in him, and that's why you're a leader. That's why you've been made the captain, because you have to take decisions. Some will fire, some will backfire. But I believed in that. I believed in taking the fear of failure away. You know, all of us in this room, and even when I started my career, we all want to be successful. We all want to do well in our careers because it's our pride, it's our recognition. People remember us for that. We want to be successful because of our families, because of our career. So for me, what I wanted for a young player is to take that fear factor away. Ki not worry about what the media thinking, what's your critics thinking, what your captain thinking, what your ex-players thinking. All you needed to worry was that wide or red cricket ball coming out of the hand and try to make the most of it. So I created that atmosphere. My communication was clear that I am here to win cricket matches. वो मुझे 100 बॉल पे 100 नहीं चाहिए. मुझे 70 बॉल पे 100 चाहिए या 70 बॉल पे 70 चाहिए जिससे तू मैच जिता ले. So I instilled that sort of an atmosphere in the team. You know, if you look at in one-day cricket, we never had so much T20 in our careers. You know, there were players at the top and players down the line. Say a Kaif at 6 and a Yuvraj at 7 didn't have an opportunity to get 100 because they bat 15 balls, 20 balls,
Yes.
30 balls. But if they get a 15 ball 30, if they get a 10 ball 20 and you win matches and they change the course of the game, you identify that as a team. Because Ganguly and Tendulkar bats at the top, they get 50 overs to get 100. So this man's contribution, plus 2 brilliant catches on the field, is as good as the contribution as the person at the top. So you wanted to create that atmosphere. You wanted to, he should not feel, अरे यार गांगुली 100 बनाता है, द्राविडी 100 बनाता है, मैं रोज 20 बनाता हूँ, मैं भागता हूँ, मैं डाइव मारता हूँ, मैं गिरा रहता हूँ, मैं आउट हो जाता हूँ. What is my contribution to the team? But in that position, in that role, that's the best he can do. So that is when you identify what has he contributed to the team to create an atmosphere. And I think that worked. I took the fear factor away. Say somebody like Sehwag, he keeps swinging. Someday he'll win you matches. Someday, first over of a test match, you think, "Arey yaar, it's seeming he still played that cover drive and nicked into slips." But that's the way he wins you matches. So you don't take that away from him. And that's very, very important in a leadership role. You create an atmosphere where individuals are allowed to express themselves. That is very, very important, because if you don't allow individuals to express their talent, they will never be good. If I tell a Dravid to keep swinging or a Sehwag to keep defending, he will not be successful. So you have to allow that person to take that fear away, create that environment where the team matters, because we were scrutinized every day, every innings, every ball, every decision, bat first, bowl first. I fielded in that World Cup final in 2003. Even some of my friends, every time a World Cup happens, remind me, "अरे तूने fielding क्यों कर लिया यार?" मैंने कहा 20 साल हो गए, अब उसको छोड़ दो, तो जाने दो. But that's the way it is, and I think that is very, very important, because you have to take decisions on the spot in our profession, and बाद में सोचने का कुछ फायदा नहीं है. I know a decision which you've taken, a lot of us think that I'm 50 now. I took a decision at the age of 30. It's no point me thinking at the age of 50, yaar wo sahi kar liya hota. Because at that point, that moment, that was the best decision you took.
Absolutely.
It has no bearing what you think at the age of 50.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with sport. It's the same thing with success. It's the same thing with performance. When Magra runs in and he bowls a good line delivery, you have to decide whether to defend or hit at that moment. 5 साल बाद बोलने का फायदा नहीं है कि यार उसको छोड़ दिया होता तो आउट नहीं होता. It has no bearing. So I think that's very important.
I think two great lessons on this, guys. One is take the fear of failure away. I think that's a big, big, big thing. And second is let the individuality remain with your team members. I think many of us want replicas of us to happen. And that's what Dada is saying is, don't make that mistake. They have their own style, they have their own characteristic, they have their own individuality. Let that individuality flow rather than sort of make them.
And also, when you hire young professionals to work for you, push them at the deep end. You'll either find them or you won't find them. A lot of people ask me why you made MS Dhoni bat at number 3 in that game against Pakistan and you batting at 4. I said, because I wanted to find out what he's made of. उसको 7 नंबर पे खिलाता रहता, वो 10 बॉल 15 बॉल 20 बॉल खेलता, कभी 10 बना लेता, 12 बना लेता, 13. But you would not have seen the MS Dhoni which you see. Even Musharraf told me one day, I said, यार तुमने इसको पकड़ कहाँ से लेके आई? तो छक्का ही मारता है स्टैंड पे. मैंने कहा यस, मैं भी सरप्राइज हूँ, इतना ताकत कहाँ से आता है, कहीं से भी उठा के छक्का मार देता है. So to find the capability and the talent and the ability of individuals, you have to push them in the deep end. When it's 50 for 4 and a Dravid and a Lakshman gets 200, that's what you look for. That's what transforms the team. That second test match in Eden Gardens, we were asked to follow on in the first innings. We lost the first test. Australia had taken a lead in the second innings, second test, first innings. They asked us to follow on and we got 670. Beat them that test, beat them the next test, went on to Australia and beat them. So, these magic moments transform institutions, transforms teams, transform organization. So you will always find who's good or bad when you push him under pressure and say, ये करो आप. ऐसा नहीं कि यार इससे नहीं होगा, ये इसको पीछे ही रखते हैं. You'll never be able to find out how good or bad he is. You push him at the deep end, give him the hardest job, and you'll find people who will win you matches.
As you rightly said, is that I want either you lose or win. I don't want to draw in that race.
You either win or lose.
Lose.
That's a very good learning. Again, there you need to push, as far as and to take the best out of the talent. Dada, on a lighter note, apart from leadership, one question which I always wonder, how cricketers and sports person must be doing. How can you, how difficult or how easy it was you to, kind of adjust to the kind of travel you guys had? I don't know, you must be out of the house for 6 months, 8 months, 3 months, I don't know. And every time into a different hotel, different food. How do you adjust to all of this?
Yeah, I loved it because India के लिए खेलने को मिलता था.
Ah, nice, nice, nice. Beautiful. What a proud statement.
I don't think, if anybody, when I first picked up the cricket bat at the age of 13, my dad took me. because my dad was the vice president of the Cricket Association of Bengal. And don't think I scored runs because he was vice president. I scored runs because I had the talent. So if anybody would have told me at the age of 13 ki one day you will captain India for 210 matches, I said, you must be joking. You must be joking. But I was fortunate enough to do it. I worked hard to do it. I had great teammates who helped me in doing it. And I enjoyed it. As I said, as we were speaking before we came here, in the year 2001, I was away from home 11 months. Luckily, I didn't have children. We were just two husband and wives, and she traveled with me whenever. And I loved it. I did not miss home. I did not feel like coming home. My parents would come once or twice wherever we would. But
11 months, huh?
yeah, just the,
Janoon.
the high, the happiness, and the pleasure of turning up for your country took everything out. You walked out to bat for India. When I first came into the team in 1996, I played with Sachin from the age of 15. He came into the team in 89, and he played 7 years before I came into the side, and I used to see him on TV. This fellow played with me in under 15 and see where he is. And then when I get an opportunity to open with him, you can't be sitting at home. You can't be sitting at home. So I did not miss it and just loved every bit of it.
Dada, it's been an hour and 15 minutes. I know you have to run. You also have a flight. But let me change gears and ask you a slightly different question. You mentioned about 2013. You mentioned about retirement. And it's a statement that you have said in this, which I'm going to read about retirement. You says that as I was busy packing my bags after my match of Nagpur, I told to myself, there was a bigger part of life still to be lived and enjoyed. This is Dada's last match. The road ahead is wide open for me. Only cricket has finished. Life is calling me for a much longer and more challenging second innings. Umpire, middle stump, please. I mean, it's like, what a beautiful statement. And here we are. We can't think of anything other than what we are doing. So how do you cut off so immediately from playing on the field, which is so passionately being driven by you? How do you cut yourself off like that?
Well, firstly, you don't have choice because we played a team sport. Our futures were decided by others. Leander Paes is a very dear friend of mine, and I meet him a lot in Calcutta. I said, you're fortunate that you played an individual sport because nobody selected you. If you were good, you played. And if you were not good, you did not play. I saw a Nadal and a Federer tennis match in Wimbledon a long time ago, I think 2014, when Nadal beat Federer hands down. And being an athlete, I could see Federer was slow. Federer was slower than Nadal, and as I watched him on the stands, I felt his time is up. His time is up, because sport gets you after a while. And if he was playing a team sport, somebody else would have come in. A young, swift, agile, young tennis player would have come in because you invest in youth. Now, 4 years later, same Federer beat Nadal in a Wimbledon final. Because he played an individual sport, he had the opportunity to get back, train, get fitter, and win it. Because he was a genius. So when you finish playing and in team sport, you must realize that this day is inevitable. For everyone in your leadership position, you won't be chairman of ANAROC forever. I won't be captain of India forever. And there are many people who are in leadership positions in this room will not remain in the leadership position forever because that's life. New people come in, they take over, and your time goes. So when you're doing that job, do it so well that the day when you finish, you don't miss it. All you can say when you get out of that room, saying that when I had this opportunity, I gave everything I had. And I've got nothing to repent. Some will be less successful, some will be more successful, but it's the effort you put in. So when this day came to me, I knew at the back of my mind that I'm becoming 38, 39, it's time to go. India has so much talent, so many cricketers, that somebody even better will come in. When Gavaskar finished, people said, who? Sachin Aaya. When Sachin finished, people said, who? Kohli Aaya. Or I would say when Gavaskar finished, people said, who? Tendulkar, Dravid, Lakshman, Sehwag. When these finished, who? Virat Kohli. you will see 5 years down the line another champion turning up for India, because this country is so talented and so gifted with individual talent. So these days are inevitable, and what will stay with me was that I played 500 games for India, something at the age of 13 I would not even have dreamt of. And I think it's always, all of you are professionals, all of you are selected. You're given responsibilities to lead teams, lead organizations. You leave when you're still on a high. My last series, I got 100 in the first test. I almost got 100 in the last test. I got out for 90 to an off spinner. And I probably cried that whole evening because I got out to an off spinner. But people will always remember when you finish on a high. It's never when people ask you, why not, rather than why. So you should always leave when people say that you could have still played and you could have still continued for another.
Wow, what a statement, guys.
I think, Dada, you have been generous enough with all the questions. One thing which I want to, kind of say is, they say our next gen, just talking about a little personal side of you, our next gen is our biggest critic. We as developers is being a business of, which runs through generations, and we face this always, or either way, like my son talks to me like that, and I talk to my father like that, being the critic. How do you take that from your next gen?
I take it, my wife never asks me anything, but my daughter will tell me, "Aapne ye sahi nahi kiya." You said something in public platform and it's got highlighted. She will call up and say, "Why did you do that?" And I'll tell you a small story. When I took that shirt off and I finished playing, my daughter was still young, and we were sitting on the sofa and watching a TV, and Star Sports came up with that picture. So the first thing my daughter asked me, "Why did you do that? It did not look good on TV."
Whoa.
And I'm serious. So next time I met the producer of Star, I said, "Boss, I've got 20,000 runs for India. Ek aadha cover drive bhi dikha lo yaar." Shirt dikhate rahoge. So, the next generation will always ask you questions, and that's the way it is. And you don't mind when your children ask you questions and ask you, it actually keeps your feet on the ground. Ki kuch galat mat karna, ye fir puch legi kuch.
Dada, we're just going to take 5-7 more minutes. 5-7 quick questions. They're all related.
Is it rapid fire?
A little bit rapid
I
fire.
just have one more thing to say before I go on
Yep.
to these questions. And sorry, it's not one of the questions he asked. It's about when chips are down in your life. And I say that to a lot of people. It happened to me in 2006 when I was captain and I was asked to leave and not even picked in the team in the next series. In spite of getting 100 in the series against Zimbabwe, I was left out for 4 or 5 months and then came back and played for another 4 years. The reason I say this is because, we played in a very competitive sport, and once you get left out of the team, you just go down the ladder because somebody else takes your place. I used to remember my father, who was obsessed with the game. Even Dravid's father was so obsessed with the game. Dravid never got 100 in Bangalore, and he used to feel a lot of pressure of not scoring runs. So he wouldn't allow his father to come to the ground. Okay, you don't turn up to the ground because every time I see your face, I just don't play well. And I saw that gentleman sitting in one corner in probably the most cheapest of the stand to see Rahul get a test match 100 in Bangalore. So our parents were like that. And I remember my dad coming and telling me when I was dropped, he said, you'll not get picked again. India has so much talent. India wins all the time. Your time will not come. I said, maybe, may not be. I said, I'll give it a try. I was 35 then, 35 years old. And I said, if I don't try and I get to the age of 40, I will never be able to play again because your body will not allow you to play. And I don't want to finish at the age of 35 saying that when it was tough, when I got dropped, because before that 11 years, I played every game, captain for 7 years. The graph was always going up. So I said, if I don't try and at the age of 40, when I sit on the sofa with no chance of playing, I should not be telling myself, yeah, when the chips were down, you did not give it a shot. I was out for about 7-8 months, and I came back after 7-8 months, and then went on to play for another 4 years. The day I finished, and it was in Nagpur, and I went and told the teammates that I'm going to finish after this test. So I remember one of my colleagues came up to me and said that, why did you finish? I said, no, I've had enough, and I think young players should come in. I'm not getting younger. He said, this is the best I've seen you play in the last, in all these 15 years. 15 years I've seen you bat for India. I said, yeah, maybe I also feel the same because I got lots of runs in those 4-5 years, hundreds, double hundreds. And the reason I tell you all this is, you know, when I got dropped and when I came back, I realized that I was not non-touchable anymore. I realized that, you know, I'm under scanner. I realized that I have to stand up every series, which was not the case the 12 years before. I could go through a little bit of a dodgy series and still get a place in the team because of being captain. And I realized that if I don't perform every series, I may not play the next one. And I was in trial all the time. And a lot of people in this room will get to a situation in life. Once you get older, once newer people come in, once you get to 60, 65, your shelf life is a bit more than mine because I'm an athlete. You know, in those situations, sometimes you realize you're best. You know, all of us when we grow up, all of us when we get into a professional world, we need support. We need an arm around us saying that, you know, I'm with you, I'll support you in your career, you will do well. But there are times when that goes away and you start working harder. You know, I remember I used to train a lot, I used to keep running, I used to keep getting fitter and fitter because I realized कि यार मौका ही नहीं मिलेगा 6 महीने बाद, ये मौका नहीं मिल सकता है. And I realized that I played the best in those 4 years.
Nice.
And the reason I say this is because when the chips are down, when people start believing that you're not good enough anymore, when people start believing that a younger guy is probably more important to this organization than you, and you still believe that you can do it, you'll actually be better than what you were in your prime. And when you go through these positions, when you go through these situations in your career, don't let it go. All you need to do is stand up and do things a bit more harder than you did when you were at your best, even when you were at your peak, even when you were probably invincible, even when your colleague said that this organization runs because of him. And it's never over till you actually believe it's over. The day you lose the fight within you, that day you lose the fight with the world. And I've seen that in my career.
Amazing.
Even when I finished the last test, and I was scoring runs at will, obviously I was not happy when I left and I finished playing because, you know, sports is all what I did all my life. But I realized that, you know, this special characteristics in me, and then you will realize it as well when you go through your career, that when the chips are down, when the world stops believing in you, you actually realize your best potential, even when everybody was with you during that.
Amazing, huh? Yeah. Amazing. And
happened.
you know, many think that the chips are down and you're done and you're dusted with. And the other is saying is that's the best time to actually pick it up and bring in all your energy, all your enthusiasm to really come up, and it'll be better than what you were at the top.
You know, I played with some champions, and I was fortunate enough to lead them. And as I said during my talk, that many of them were probably even in a better position, more talented to lead the country. You know, Rahul Dravid from 2007, the player he was, did not get 100 for 3-4 years away from India. He was in England in 2011, and I had finished playing by then, and I was in the broadcast too. I met him on the first day of the Lord's Test, and I said, Jam, what's happening? How long are you going to play? Because he was a friend, I could ask him that question. He said, I'm still good enough to get test match hundreds. But I said, you know, last 4 years hasn't been for you. How do you think you can do that? He finished that series with 4 test hundreds in 4 test matches. He got 100 at Lords, he got 100 at Trent he got 100 at Headingley, and he finished 1 at the Oval. And he was at the back end of Rahul Dravid's career. So when you meet these champions, when you talk to them, you realize that the belief never goes till the bat is in the cupboard. And I think that's a huge learning thing for everyone. It's never over in anything in life till you actually believe it's over.
Amazing, guys. So another 7 minutes. That's all very quick, rapid fire. Who did you enjoy more with opening, Sachin or Sehwag?
Sachin was the most sane one. Sehwag was insane. So I think with Sachin. He actually also made me a better player because, You know, when I saw him bat at the other end, I thought, यार तेरा भी standard ऊपर करना पड़ेगा. हंसेंगे कि एक side पे world class खेल रहा है और दूसरा side पे ordinary खेल रहा है. So he actually got me lift my game. So I think Sachin.
What was more challenging, test in Australia or test in England?
Australia.
Captain of India or BCCI president?
No, captain of India.
India win in Calcutta Test 2001 at home or India win at Lords in NatWest final 2002?
Now 2001 at home because it changed the team. It changed that belief in the team.
Saurav Ganguly, the entrepreneur, or Saurav Ganguly, the family man?
A family man.
Oh, wow. Your nightmare of a bowler that you faced?
Muralitharan when he was getting old.
Why do you say that?
Because he got better with age. I played him all my career from 96 till 2010 and I found him the hardest in 2010. And I've scored about 4 or 5 hundreds. All of you must have seen I've hit him for innumerable number of sixes. Every morning before a game he would come and tell me, hey Ganguly, don't hit me for sixes. Huh? And then he would get me out. So the older he became, the better bowler he became. So I found Murli the hardest when he was older.
If not cricketer, what would you have been?
Just don't know. My mother would have sent me to college and I would have probably building a real estate.
Which living person do you most admire?
Which?
Which living person do you most admire?
Sachin.
Really? Wow.
He was special. And I've seen him close. I have seen him get hit in the rib cage to Shoaib. Did not make a noise. Get runs. And the next morning he had double fracture in his rib.
Oh.
Yeah. I heard a sound and I went and asked him, you're okay? He said, yeah, fine. Next morning he had 2 fractures in the rib and he scored runs for India that same evening. He was special.
Amazing, huh? Wow. One word for women cricket.
It's on the high. You know, women's cricket will go to a different level in the next 3 years. We did that in the last 3 years. The way they played in Commonwealth Games. I was actually surprised to see the way they competed in the Commonwealth Games. They won the Asia Cup recently. They won, they beat England 3-0 in England, which is never an easy thing to do. You know, women cricket in India will get to an all-time high in the next 3 years.
Very nice. We're really looking forward to that. We need more gender diversity here as well.
It will.
My last one, as you have many nicknames, which is your personal favorite?
Saurav.
Beautiful. Dada, if, with your permission, if we can open it up for a couple of questions to the floor.
Sure.
And then we can wind it up. So you'll have to get some mics, guys. Can you also introduce yourself?
Sure. You have a mic.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Dada.
Yes.
Dada,
Yes, I'm hearing.
Dada.
I'm hearing. Go on, I'm listening.
we need you in politics.
Are you
What
from
about-
Calcutta? Are you from Calcutta?
No.
Then?
From Odisha.
यार पटनायक जी अच्छा काम कर रहे हो.
हम आपको भी चाहते हैं आप कलकत्ता के लिए कुछ अच्छा करें वेस्ट बंगाल के लिए.
मुझे 1-2 बार इधर बुला लेना, मुझे ये ज़्यादा अच्छा लगता है.
Thank you. But
Kantilal ji.
what is your plan for politics, Dada? Have you planned?
What is my plan for politics? Just read the headlines in the morning, that's all.
Thank you.
दादा नेटकॉन ने काफी मोटिवेशनल स्पीकर्स देखे पर आप तो दादा ही निकले.
Thank you.
अगर चेला हिस्सा है तो गुरु कौन था? गुरु कौन है?
चेला मतलब
चेला
मैं?
मतलब आप शिष्य हो.
हाँ, मेरा गुरु
कौन है?
आई थिंक क्रिकेट. उसने ये सब कुछ गेम से ही सीखा है.
Saurav, what 2 things you would like to change if you got the power? 1 for sports or cricket, 1 for India. If you got the full powers, so what you would like to
I
change?
had the full powers for 3 years.
So what still you need to change? What still you want to change?
I think Indian cricket is in a fantastic position.
And-
I'm sorry, I'm still saying this after the loss against England yesterday, but in sport happens. This country has enormous talent, and you know, I go around seeing Ranji Trophy, I go around seeing junior cricket. Kids are unbelievable. You know, kids from our families, when they
Very true.
play the sport, they are just exceptional. You know, India is a fascinating country, and from a country's perspective, I don't see why it is called a third world country. It is not anymore. It is much better than anywhere else you go go because we are so competitive. You know,
Fantastic.
happen here. You know, I bought a place in England, England in 2019. I could not get in because of COVID for 2 years. And the first day I entered, my fridge wasn't working. You know how much time it took me to replace the fridge? 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah, and in India, in Calcutta, in Bombay, in Delhi, 6 hours to replace a fridge. So I keep saying to people that India is the best place to live, the best country in the world.
Great, great.
Nice.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Last question we're going to take.
Hello. On a lighter side, don't take it otherwise.
Bolo.
On the day of an England match where you took off your shirt, so you specifically shaved that day your chest.
Yeah, I don't shave. I don't shave my chest. I just shaved my beard off. I had a 3-month-old beard, which I'm going to bring it back after today, because I had to shoot for someone and they didn't want my beard look. But I don't shave.
Sorry, Dada, I want to see who asked that question. 1 second. You got to shave the best for last.
दादा आता अपने जो है 3 टायर 4 टायर सिटी के जो बच्चे हैं वो मेट्रो सिटी के ही बंदे अब इंडिया क्रिकेट से खेलते हैं 3 टायर 4 टायर 2 टायर सिटी के बंदे नहीं दिखते क्रिकेट टीम के लिए इसलिए बीसीआई से और
नहीं,
दादा से कुछ होता है
अब बदल गया. अब देखो खिलाड़ी कहाँ से आते हैं. MS धोनी कहाँ से आया? रांची से.
यस
हाँ? अब जसप्रीत बुमराह कहाँ से आता है? एक गांव से आता है, गुजरात के. बहुत सारे खिलाड़ी है जो ये देखो चहल कहाँ से आता है? हरियाणा. So India just, it's no 3 tier 4 tier cities anymore. They're as good as Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta. Actually lesser people are look at where Mohammad Shami comes from. He comes from a village in UP. So you know, this with television, with facilities, with infrastructure, which Indian cricket gives it to all cities. You go to Chhattisgarh, you'll see a fantastic cricket stadium. You go to Ranchi, you'll see a fantastic cricket stadium. You know, you go to Assam, the new stadium is outstanding. So it's no more 3 tier 4 tier. I think everybody has the facility, and that's why we see such great players coming from smaller cities. You know, when I started playing cricket, लोग सोचते नहीं थे कि बंगाल और रांची से खिलाड़ी होंगे. And you know, 2 of India's greatest captains and probably India's greatest has come from Ranchi. So it's no 3 or 4 tier cities anymore.
Thank
Guys,
you so much.
Guys, I can't even sum up what has been discussed today. There has been such a elaborate discussions. All that I would say is we need to give a rising ovation and a felicitation to our own Dada. And if I can call the Natcon team.
I'd also like to quickly invite the organizing committee members of CREDAI Natcon, Mr. Tejas Vyas and Mr. Rushi Mehta, to felicitate Dada. By the way, the clapping doesn't need to stop. Huh? Clapping is good for cholesterol levels also. So bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it.
Come on, India, दिखा दो, दुनिया को हिला दो. Come on, India, दिखा दो, दुनिया को हिला दो. Come on, India, हिला दो, हिला दो. Come on, India, दिखा दो. Come on, दुनिया को हिला दो. थोड़ा सा दिल, थोड़ा सा will ले आओ. थोड़ा सा दिल.
What a beautiful end. Thank you so much, Dada, for being so generous with your time. All right, that brings us to the end of our amazing day 1 for CREDAI Natcon 2022. Special thanks to our banking partner, SBI. Can we please have the AV? Thank you so much.
कभी दीवार पर निखर आती है सपनों की सौगात, और कभी बेडरूम के कोने में ही हो जाती है नए बिजनेस की शुरुआत। कभी किचन से आती खुशबू से ही भर जाता है पेट और दिल, और कभी दरवाजे से आती दिखती है ढेर सारी